Welcome to the Work Hard, Smile Large podcast, where we shine a spotlight on individuals who are working hard to make a difference and smiling large as they help others. I'm your host and founder, Nicole Christopherson, and today's episode, we're going to delve into Amanda Rice's inspiring journey.
Amanda Rice was diagnosed with cancer 3 times before the age of 40.
The impact of the Chick Mission and how together we can work towards a future where healthcare coverage for fertility preservation is the new norm in all 50 states.
I had insurance coverage for fertility and my insurance company denied me coverage and it made me feel discarded.
Today, I'm smiling large as I have the honor of introducing you to Amanda Rice, the visionary CEO and founder of the Chick Mission, a US-based nonprofit organization fiercely dedicated to providing women battling cancer with access to fertility preservation ahead of life-saving treatment.
This is going to change cancer care forever.
The idea for the Chick Mission hatched when Amanda's own fertility preservation coverage was denied by her insurance company. The Chick Mission is to ensure every young woman diagnosed with cancer has the option to preserve fertility through direct financial support, educational programs, and advocacy efforts. Thank you so much for joining me today, Amanda. We've already had our little chit chat before, but please say hello to our community and let's take it away.
Hey, hello community. I am thrilled to, meet you and chat with you, Nicole. I was so touched when you reached out through our mutual friend and foodie extraordinaire, but I'm thrilled to share our mission with the broader community out there.
It was hatched in 2017, so you've been working hard for several years, and we both relocated to Austin, Texas about 3 years ago. But let's just give our friend who introduced us a little bit of a shout out, because Chef Teddy Simon is a friend of ours who introduced us. He is somebody who's a local chef here that I discovered upon moving to Austin on Instagram. And we always talk about how I meet these amazing people in our community. I don't even know where it's going to take us. And I don't have any expectation of anybody I meet, but I have bought his food and worked with Teddy on so many different occasions because it's delicious. And come to find out, when I launched Work Hard, Smile Large, he was a huge supporter right out the gate. I never had to explain what our mission was. I never had to explain what my goals were with it. He was on board from the beginning and offering to sponsor our events. He just sponsored our vision mapping event and fed all of our in-person guests. And he's just been amazing. So if you're in Austin and you're not following Chef Teddy Simon, you need to do that right now.
You will be kicking yourself once you do order some food because it is delicious. It's so clean. It reminds me of New York, and that's where I moved from 3 years ago, and I just adore him.
So he delivers the food to you. You have to order ahead of time. It's quality, high quality sushi. He does private chef catering events, and he, does other larger events. He did my husband's entire 50th birthday party, which was amazing a year ago.
He did my birthday party too.
So. You did yours too. So There you go, Chef. There's our shout out and our gratitude for you introducing us and for you continuing to feed us delicious food. So let's talk about the start. Let's just rewind all the way back to when your heart told you that this is what you needed to do and this is your mission, and you hatched the Chick Mission.
Yeah, you see what we do there. We are very into our puns at the Chick Mission. We are all about making babies and dozens of them and freezing eggs and the mission itself came out of heartbreak. It was really when I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2014, melanoma in 2015, and then a recurrence of breast in 2016. So that was a whole lot to deal with in, a 3-year period. What happened, I was in my 30s at the time, and I had insurance coverage for fertility. And so when I was diagnosed and knew I would have to do chemotherapy and radiation and long-term drug therapy, I went to kind of cash in on my benefits, and my insurance company denied me coverage. And they said I wasn't infertile yet. So that was the heartbreak. It was early stage cancer each time. I was very fortunate to find it myself and to advocate for somebody to pay attention and to get the treatment that I needed to save my life. But ultimately, when I went to think about what was my life going to be like after cancer, that I will not name names, but that insurance company, which is a big one out there, said, basically, we don't care. We know you're going to be infertile. That's what they were implying. But we're not going to cover you. So
preventative care is definitely something that, is overlooked a lot. My husband's in the healthcare tech industry and deals with insurance companies a lot and stuff. And their mission is healthier, happier people, preventative care and better systems and better access to care. And so I totally understand what you're saying. And that's important, for people to be proactive and not reactive.
And it was just such a sucker punch, and it made me cry. And it made me feel discarded and just invisible. Yeah. And I just I felt incredibly out of control at that point. Like, what was going to come around the next corner? And if I did survive, why? Yeah. It got me to some really dark places.
I was going to say those emotions are really toxic, right? And to take those and turn them into a triumph, and even to take those and shed, something on other people and help other people with it takes a lot of specialness. So, you know what I mean?
I appreciate that.
And at the beginning the heart was really hard.
It was. And it was, I was either going to drown in the sorrow of it, or I was going to take control of what I thought was, so far out of my control. And so I chose the latter, and the name The Chick Machine came to me, and, quickly bought the domain name and started talking to my friends and family about what I wanted to create. And, the powers of Instagram, I reached out to other nonprofit founders who I had no clue who they were and didn't know if they would talk to me or not, but they did. And they gave me great advice. And I wasn't just going to slap on another nonprofit, that's competing with something else, or, it's not a competition. We ultimately just want to help patients navigate their journeys a little bit easier.
And I think that's really important to say that, there are a lot of nonprofits. There are a lot of people trying to make change in this world, and it truly is not a competition. The more they collaborate just like us in everyday life, the greater the reach for their mission, and the collaboration just is going to take them farther in almost every instance. Correct?
And that's, it takes a village. We say this, it takes a village to affect change. It takes a village to raise a child. And so, I reached out to my village, and it was really heartwarming to see, the accessibility that you could have just with strangers.
All the meanwhile, you're fighting cancer and you're going through treatment.
And I, typical Amanda Rice fashion, organized my friends to come to my chemo, and we had a thematic chemo. So you would dress up, and everything was chick themed. And I just wanted a distraction from my friends. I didn't want them worrying about me. And, I wanted to add some levity to a tough situation. And I kind of kick myself now, what on earth was I thinking? But it did inspire me. And I think it did help me, distract myself from the situation at hand.
And that theme carried through to today, right? It was the beginning.
It was. And then now, fast forward, and it's been a wild ride. And our board is expanding. Our volunteer corps is expanding. Our reach is expanding thanks to people like you. And, we just had an article come out in the New York Times. So we're flying high.
It's huge. And you just told me about another goal that you are about to accomplish here in spring of 2024. And you are about to reach your 500th grant for the Chick Mission.
So by the time this airs, we will have hit 500 patients served. And what a wild 6 years to get us here.
I know. And then you also gave me one other little statistic. You said you have 12 Chick Mission chicks?
We have 6 Chick Mission babies. No problem at all. And we have a couple of folks that have communicated that they're going to be trying soon. And there's over 5,000 frozen eggs from our grants.
So the chicks, for our listeners, when they say 6 Chick Mission chicks, these are eggs, right, that were preserved with your fun little chicks, and they were born, and they're, here with us, and they're going to probably continue to carry on the mission as well. And 5,000 eggs that are preserved in total since the Chick Mission launched. So congratulations.
Thank you. And we're excited because 500 grants mean 500 future mothers and 500 additional future co-parents and more grandparents and more aunts and uncles and godmothers like I am. So there's a exponential effect.
Yeah. I think advocacy is so big, and us having you on is really important for spreading the message, and bringing awareness. I don't even know if I've ever spoken to a woman who's been diagnosed with cancer and immediately thought about fertility, you know what I mean? And that's something that's really special for us as women, and it's something that we grow up most often dreaming about, being a mother or having children. And that was where your heart went right away, instantly. And that's just, I just don't even know, because you're going through treatment and you're instantly not even thinking about your treatment. You're already thinking about coming out on the other side. Right. And that's so powerful.
We call them hope.
We
call them hope grants for a reason, because there are so many incredible things happening in healthcare to increase survivorship for young adults. Mm-hmm. And even though I'm sure people have read it out in the press, there have been more instances of cancer in young adults, but the survivorship is nearly 90%. And that's going up. And so to think about, you got to think long term, and especially with women who are born with every egg they'll ever have, there are some things that are stacked against us that we really have to address. So part of our mission is education, because we want people to understand the impact. We want to understand, even we do a lot of stuff on Fertility 101. You're born with every egg you'll ever have. That is, knowledge is power. So that is something crucial to our mission.
And you have events. This is something that you do regularly to educate people and to grow your community. So tell me a little bit about some of your events that you host and that you're a part of.
Yeah. So our mission started in New York. That is where I was at the time. That's where I was being treated for cancer. And so we started off with some event space that somebody donated, and had our first kind of kickoff in the spring of 2018. And then we had a big New York City gala in the fall of 2018. So we continue to do that annually. Obviously, we had to skip the COVID year, but we pivoted during COVID to something called the Great Egg Freeze, which is a polar bear plunge. We did our first one here in Austin in December, and everybody jumped into Barton Springs, and it was super fun. And then obviously breakfast tacos after, and coffee and cocktails.
Always a breakfast taco if you're in Austin.
Yes.
If you're in Texas.
And, for us, the Great Egg Freeze is about community. It's about families. It's about celebrating and learning about your impact and nonprofit work. So love teaching young kids about philanthropy. So we pass that on. And then we do, this year we are expanding our reach. We're doing an event in New Orleans in a couple of weeks. We are doing a couple of events in the Bay Area. We're doing our first golf event in Denver, and then a few more things in New York, and I'm sure more stuff in Texas. Those that are out there that want to get more involved, just DM me.
Go to the website. Go to the Chick Mission website. They do have an events page there. And you're also really responsive on social media. DMing you is very productive.
Thank you. I know that's what I do, like late at night. I make sure, there is a team that is watching our Instagram at all times and posting and doing all the things, but I like to personally check it
Very nice. I know you're advocating for legislative change, and that might me even just saying that or thinking if I was in your shoes, having to do that is so intimidating. But talk about that experience because I have other friends who have lobbied for certain things and done stuff, and talk about that. I mean, talk about advocating for legislative change. And so our listeners can hear like overcoming that fear, if that's something that they need to do or want to do.
It's incredibly powerful and it's incredibly inspiring to share your story. When I was diagnosed, I was actually living in a state where it actually was the first state that passed the law mandating insurance companies cover fertility preservation for cancer. And that was the state of Connecticut. And I wrote a letter of support. I don't know if anybody ever read it, but I'd like to believe that they did. And there was a young woman who was a survivor who brought this issue to her state representative and state senator and just highlighted, something that they hadn't been thinking about. I hadn't been thinking about and until a doctor told me. So I felt really good about that. And to me, it shined the light on this as a solvable problem. And so I didn't want to create a nonprofit that was going to live in perpetuity, right? I wanted to solve something. And I didn't want to have to keep coming back to the same people and asking them to donate their hard-earned dollars with no end in sight. So
that's a fear that most people who run nonprofits probably have, right?
Yes, there's burnout and there's, there were so many risks, and hey, I'm a risk taker. So I'm willing to be honest. If it's too much for me, I would be honest with the community and say, hey, I'm going to pass the baton to somebody else. But so far, it's just been incredibly invigorating. And I've cried my eyes out many times, but I also feel really empowered and really good about it. So the advocacy piece is that linchpin. This is going to change cancer care forever for the young adult community. And so with the advocacy work, I was hooked. So there are amazing organizations out there who have been hard at work at this for a long time and just sort of started to reach out and read their stuff. And it just emboldened me to, hey, I'm a person. The state senator is a person. They've gone through stuff. I've gone through stuff. It's not as intimidating as, you sort of, that theater of the mind is something my mom says. And get rid of that theater of the mind and go talk to them as a human being. And so I did that. And I did it in New York. And I helped, I'm a mentor to so many other survivors. So they started saying, well, I live in New Jersey. I want to do this. And so connected them to talk to their state reps. And it's just kind of snowballed into this amazing strategic move on our parts. Texas passed the law last year. And we were at the state capitol, every other week, showing them letters of support. These are some letters right now, actually, for Oklahoma. But just sharing with the state representative, this constituent who wrote this letter, here, this is somebody that votes for you, that cares about this issue. And they care what their constituents are passionate about. So I want everyone, the key takeaway from our talk and what I would like people to understand is their story matters and they're a constituent and they vote these people in and they want to hear what's important for you. And not just from the lobbyist groups and the people that get paid to do this, they want to hear from you. And if you have a story to share and you can reflect something better for the greater good in the form of a bill, don't be shy about it.
Yeah.
And I bet somebody has even already thought about it or tried to change it. Go call them, reach out on Instagram and see if they'd be willing to talk to you. And I bet they want to hear your story.
Yeah. It's absolutely, everybody has a voice and it's how you use it, right? And there's, I think a lot of people think that advocating for legislative change and lobbying or going and speaking to your representatives, state representatives, is maybe a little bit contentious, but you can approach it very respectfully and humbly. And I think I've heard the same thing. We had the PERC group on in California, and they are advocating for parental rights and medical freedoms, and when my girlfriend came on and she was on with some of her partners that are at PERC with her, it was so inspiring to hear how they have no qualms going and sharing their stories and speaking with the state representatives on a regular basis, and that it's very peaceful, I guess you could say, because I think for those of us who have never had that experience, we don't know what to relate to that, and it is very peaceful.
I think we see all the national politics, and regardless which way you lean, it doesn't matter. They are humans, and at the state level, I just think they really, really want to hear what's important to their constituents. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent. Everybody gets cancer. Yeah. It does not discriminate. It can happen to anybody. Unfortunately,
it's the preventative stuff that's really important, like preserving your eggs. It's all the preventative stuff and thinking ahead and future forward. It's so important. And they don't know what to do if they don't understand those experiences. 100%. And so I haven't ever frozen any eggs. I have family members we all have somebody that we know, right? That's gone, had this experience. And it's a really quick procedure, I guess you would call it. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of time. And so it's so important that these insurance carriers cover it, because it's not a lot of time. It's not a lot of money. It's just having it covered under that care. Correct.
And the finance brain, because my whole career has been in finance, is like, hey guys, you could spend this much now to prevent this from basically catapulting into a disaster situation where you're throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars at a couple who's trying to have a baby. You could just solve it. And we have gotten the cost of egg freezing down amongst our providers to $7,000. And so if a nonprofit can get it down that much, imagine what an insurance company could do.
Amazing. Yeah, I've never had that number put to it, but that doesn't seem like very much compared to friends of ours that have gone through IVF. And
oh my gosh. I mean, you can get into 50,000, 60,000, 100,000, that hopefully your insurance company pays, but a lot of people have to pay out of pocket.
Yeah.
It's just devastating.
Yep. So you touched on it, your financial head, because before you launched the Chick Mission, let's tell everybody a little bit about your background. And because I have a couple other fun questions, like little things that I found about you that I want to have you share too.
Of course. So I studied math and finance in college. I went to Tulane undergrad, and I thought I was going to be an accountant actually. But I found the markets and was hook, line, and sinker. So I started my career on the sell side in New York City and ultimately moved to the buy side, so the hedge fund side of things, 2007. And instead of making investment decisions, which people typically associate with hedge funds, I actually am the fundraiser, the capital raiser. So I work in investor relations and business development, worked internally at a couple of funds for about 16 years, and then started my own consulting business, which gave me the freedom and flexibility to move to Austin.
Very nice. And I can tell, just like me, you're very happy here.
Yes.
There's never a dull moment. There's always something new going on or happening here in Austin to keep us energized and moving forward and building community. Thank you so much for sharing that. I can't wait for my daughters to listen to this episode, because math was always a thorn in our side, I shall call it. We talked about our roses and our thorns at dinner every night. Math was just always so challenging for them. And we've found a really amazing math tutor, and they tutor twice a week. And sometimes they don't have anything to go over, so they do fun review stuff, but they both have really good grades in math, and they both really enjoy it now. And so we found the love of numbers and the love of math in the last year or so, 2 years. And it's really fun watching them help their friends with homework and stuff now too. So I know. Let them know they could go to college for math and study.
It's a great foundation. No matter what you do, it's a really good foundation. So.
It is. So that's really fun. I can't wait to share that with them. So the one little fun thing that we found, and then I have some cool questions to ask you too. You were on Watch What Happens Live on Bravo.
Yes.
For all our fun listeners that watch Bravo, y'all know I don't watch reality TV very often, but everybody keeps me up to date. I get the Cliffs Notes from everyone and what their feelings are. So how did that happen? How fun was that experience? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so it was pretty wild. Gosh, it was about a year ago, maybe a little more than a year ago. Lindsay Hubbard, who's on Summer House, reached out to us and said, "Hey, I recently froze my eggs with a doctor that we work with our patients, and I was asking him how I could give back because I feel really fortunate that I could go through this, and could you highlight some charities?" And so he mentioned us, and she reached out and said, "I want to help, put me to work. And if you want to do some exercise classes for charity, like I love berries, and if you want to, I'm happy to show up at anything that you do and spread the word." So I thought that was really nice. I actually had never seen Summer House. I actually went to my best friend from college and said, "Hey, she's my Bravo guru." And I said, "What do you think about this chick?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, you'll love her because she's strong and she's opinionated." I was like, "Great." So, we were kind of testing her out at first to see, is Bravo gets a bad rap, I guess. And these are, again, humans, but they're also in the limelight. And is this a storyline or is this something real? And I got to tell you, she's super motivated. She and Carl at the time came to events and did exercise classes. And, we had this Race Like a Girl event, and they both ran and she showed up at our gala. And it was really her being on Watch What Happens Live, where they said, "Well, who do you think should be a guest bartender? Do you guys have anybody in mind?" And she was the one who said, "Hey, what about the Chick Mission?" And funny story is that we worked on a bill to legalize surrogacy in New York a number of years ago. And Andy was representing the LGBTQ community, and we were representing the cancer community. So we overlapped there. We were part of like this special group of folks who talked to a lot of the leaders in New York. And so I was like, "Oh, just remind him. I don't know if he'll remember us." But, and so that happened. And it was incredible. I did have to cut my trip to Big Bend short to make it, but it was worth it.
You were dedicated, right? She was dedicated to showing up, and you were dedicated to showing up. And that's what community does. 100%. Yeah, that was just something so fun. And it's funny. You're like, and I had to ask my Bravo friends, because that's literally what I do. I'm like, tell me about, I haven't seen that yet. Fill me in on these things.
Exactly. Oh, man.
Well, I just love everything that you're doing. We all have cancer survivors in our families and in our friend groups, and children that we're raising, right? And things like that. So anything I can do to spread the mission, in addition to sharing you with our community and your podcast episode, please do. I know I told everyone they can find you on Instagram. That's where we were introduced and first DM'd one another, but your website is super helpful. And there's a contact form on there as well. But I am so happy that you are doing this. I have a mother of 2 daughters, and so this is just the beginning. It's been, 7 years now? 7 years.
Wild.
6 chicks.
I will say, 5,000 eggs, and, thousands of people impacted from the advocacy work, and the 16 state laws that have changed, given all the advocacy efforts out there amongst so many different groups in the young adult cancer community and the District of Columbia. What I would say, if anybody is listening that lives in Oklahoma, there is an active bill right now. I was telling Nicole last night, we have about 150 letters out on my counter, but then we just got a whole bunch more last night. These are letters of support that get generated from our website. There's a portal for Oklahoma. You add your name and your address, and it automatically shoots an email to your state representative and senator based upon your address. So it's just like this really cool thing that our web developer found and was able to implement. And I get a copy of them so that when I'm in Oklahoma City next week, I can physically hand these out. I walk around the Capitol and just knock on doors and say, hey, there's 17 letters of support from your constituents. This matters to them. Would you consider supporting this bill? And that's the way it gets done.
So you're going on the road to Oklahoma. I know you have an event coming up in Denver. You have some stuff up in Northern California. We've got New Orleans event coming up. So you're on the go-go. Like
Yes.
You're bouncing around the missions, all 50 states. Like what is a daily routine? Like how do you start your day every day? How do you maintain being on the go like that? I think work-life balance is really important. And I know being on the chick mission probably doesn't feel like work a lot of the time.
Yeah. I would say if you have 2 full-time jobs, make one your passion project. It's kind of like, it's my baby and it's my kids. So I always say that to people. I do have a full-time job that I love. And I only work with incredible human beings. Like they're my clients. And so they know the full gamut of my life. I'm a very open person. So I'm like, hey, by the way, I take on like 1 or 2 clients. And I also run a nonprofit. And I have to be places that will trump some of the things that are super important for you.
And I think that's something that we have in common. I mean, I run 2 real estate teams in 2 different states, and most people, unless you've listened to an episode where I've talked about it, don't know that. Most people think I'm doing work hard, smile large, and being a podcast host full time, and that's not how it is. And so I balance things out, right? I either time block it, or I have certain days that I record the podcast, and I'm dedicated to my morning routine. So, like, what's a routine or something that, like, a tip or trick that you want to share?
I think time blocking is incredibly important. I love that you said that because I have a standing, Wednesday morning meeting that I do not miss. That is all things chick mission. I also have a standing like Monday afternoon. And to me, it's really hard to turn my brain on and off and switch between the 2. I feel like I'm doing neither of them justice if I do that. So I do time block a lot. And with the chick mission, I make sure my team knows this. I say this all the time. I spend my Sundays brainstorming and coming back and reading emails again because I need to get a lot done on Sunday. And it's just my day to kind of be at peace. I do a nice lake walk. I just regroup. And that's where I can spend a lot of my time just brainstorming. So I send a lot of emails and a lot of Slacks and a lot of things on Sundays, which I say, please don't read until Monday. So that's kind of my
masterminding on
it's
Sunday.
my sacred day for me and the mission. It's a good day for that.
I agree. I do the same thing on Sundays. At least half the day has to be blocked to where I can make sure we have healthy food in the house, and I've kind of prepped what I'm going to eat because I take food with me when I run to the office. And when I'm running around, I really don't, unless my friends invite me and I block it into the calendar, I really don't eat out that much, and I try to eat really healthy. And then I also like to also clean out my email boxes and organize my stuff and check my calendar and make sure everything's fit in there nicely so I'm not frazzled. Because a lot of people look at me and they're like, you're busy all the time. You're so busy. And it's not, you're like, I elect to be that way and have my days have purpose from start to finish every single day because that's who I am. And not everybody's like that, but it takes preparation. You can't walk in
very much
on your Monday not ready for the week.
We are wired the same way.
I was taking that away from our little combos today.
And then the other crucial part of it all is I have an entire chick mission team now. We have our incredible executive director who's a survivor and a dear friend and like my COVID roomie and everything else. Like she is so dedicated to, our survivor, the communications with everybody involved in the grant making process. And she's our creative guru. So it's great because that's not my strong suit. And then we have, we just keep adding to the team, which is fantastic. And so this doesn't run well without them. And then our board is expanding. So it's just,
how often does your team meet? Because that's the first thing that just popped into my mind. When you're a team, you have to collaborate often or regularly, should I say? So how often does your team meet?
So we meet every Wednesday morning to kind of go through, that's at minimum. And then, I have an advocacy update call. on a monthly basis. And then we're starting this high school program. And so the people that are enthusiastic about that and sort of teaching, this is something we'll launch next year, but we're going to have like a competition of sorts where young women who are sophomores in high school learn about, the chick mission from start to finish, what their body does, and ultimately how they can help spread awareness through social media, through fundraising in their community and things like that. So that group's meeting once a month. Yeah. So there's just like all these little cohorts of passions that meet on a regular basis. So we can carve out the time and the space to brainstorm together.
Wonderful. Do you have a mantra or a life motto that you live by, or is there one at the Chick Mission that y'all use?
I mean, I think we're very much a work hard, but work smart at the same time. Mm-hmm. So we are very strategic. So I think you can work hard all you want, but you have to work smart. That's, being surrounded by a bunch of women is really incredible. And then I would just, the other thing I always just come back to is like, your story matters.
100%. Your story
hard
matters.
stop.
That's a great one. Every single day. You should retell your story every single day and share it every single day. Beautiful. Well, we love having you on, and we love being able to share you with our Work Hard, Smile Large community. And this is just the beginning, because Amanda and I are going to be hanging out a lot more. We also do walks at the lake on Sundays when the weather is nice. So I could see us crossing paths there. But Amanda, keep it up, and Work Hard, Smile Large will help and support and share everything that we possibly can. And everybody listening, make sure to go and follow the Chick Mission on Instagram or any of your social media platforms so you can cheer her along and share the mission to your peeps.
Thanks, Nicole. I know. More peeps, the better.
Thank you so much, Amanda, for joining me. As always, we end the podcast. Work hard,
smile large.
All right. Have a great day. Thank you so much. And that wraps up another incredible episode of the Work Hard, Smile Large podcast. I hope you enjoyed our journey today as much as I did. A big thank you to our amazing guest for sharing her story and insights. If you found inspiration in today's episode, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with friends, family, or anyone who could use a boost. Remember, your journey is unique and every step counts. Keep working hard and never forget to smile large. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. You never want to miss an episode. We have a lot more incredible stories and conversations lined up for this season. Until next time, keep pushing forward, keep dreaming big, and as always, work hard, smile large.